This video is not intended to be the sole means of education and training on the 800 MHz radio system. Radios can be programmed in a number of ways, and talk groups vary from region to region based on the decisions of your regional radio advisory committees and regional and statewide radio boards. The EMSRB does not endorse or recommend any specific brand or model of radios. For demonstration purposes only, the XTS 2500 Model 2 portable radio is featured. It is strongly recommended that you consult your agency regarding the specific operational features of the radio your agency decides to utilize. This video will cover the following information: how to prepare for usage of the radio, accessories for the radio, basic operational features, how to utilize scanning, special calls and messages, and radio or system difficulties. We will also cover what should be done before turning your radio on, how to properly handle the radio controls, antenna, battery, and remote microphone. Preparation for use. Before turning the radio on, be sure to do the following things. Ensure you have a fully charged battery. Inspect the radio, battery, and antenna for cracks or other serious defects. Make sure the antenna is connected. Be certain there are no restrictions for radio use at your location. Always handle the radio properly. This can be accomplished by following these simple suggestions. Avoid physical abuse. Do not immerse the radio in water or subject to excessive liquids. Avoid subjecting the radio to corrosives, solvents, or spirits. Do not disassemble the radio in any way. Keep the universal connector cover in place until ready to use it. Replace the cover immediately after the accessory has been disconnected. Avoid leaving the radio in direct sunlight or excessively hot locations. When preparing to use a radio, it is important that you are familiar with the radio controls. On the top portion of the front of the radio are the speaker and microphone. They are for verbal transmission and reception of messages. The LCD display located between the speaker and the buttons provides visual information to be displayed. Most often this information is the talk group that is being utilized or menu functions. The menu select buttons located under the LCD controls radio functions shown on the LCD. The navigation button, which is the button with arrows on it, is utilized to scroll through the menu options. The button with the picture of the house on it is the home button. Pressing this button will return you to the main or home settings of the radio. The top controls on the radio are as follows. The knob on the top of your radio, with the white dot on it, turns the radio on or off and also controls the volume adjustment. The talk group selection knob is the middle knob with the numbers around it. This is utilized to select the talk group you wish to use. The 3-position ABC switch is utilized to enable or disable the scanning features of the radio. The B position enables the scanning function. The small LED light next to the letter C indicates the radio's operating status. The orange button is an emergency button. Pressing this button sends an emergency notification to the communication center. The controls on the side of the radio provide the following functions. Pressing the top side button, which is the purple button, acknowledges a selective conversation call. The push to talk switch is the oval button below the purple button. Pressing the button engages the transmit feature, allowing the user to speak and transmit communications. Transmissions cannot be received while this button is engaged. Side button 1, which is below the push to talk switch, deletes noisy talk groups. Side button 2, which is the bottom button, locks and unlocks the buttons on the front of the radio. When preparing your radio at the start of your shift, you should ensure that you have a fully charged battery. To replace the battery, first be sure the radio is turned off. Hold the radio with the back of the radio facing upward. To disengage the battery from the radio, pull down on the battery release buttons. These are located near the top of the battery on either side of the battery. Swing the battery toward you to remove. Place this battery in the charger and replace it with a fresh battery. To insert a new battery, place the bottom of the battery into the tabs and the top of the battery toward the radio until the battery snaps into place. The radio has the following accessories: the belt clip, a universal connector cover, and a remote speaker microphone. To attach the belt clip, hold the battery in one hand so that the top of the battery faces upward and the back of the radio faces you. Hold the belt clip in the other hand with its top facing upward. Align the slide assembly on the front of the belt clip with the slots on the back of the battery. Slide the belt clip downward toward the bottom of the battery until the belt clip snaps in place. To attach the remote speaker to the radio, first remove the accessory cover. Align the microphone attachment at the base and snap into place. Some models will require attachment with a screw. To remove the remote speaker, if the retaining screw is used, remove the screw from the housing. Press the tab on the spring-loaded latch to release the top of the connector housing from the radio. Lift the connector housing up and away from the radio. Replace the universal connector cover to the radio if no other accessory is to be used. Next, we will cover basic radio operation. This includes how to turn the radio on, selecting a talk group, transmitting and receiving, timeout timers, indicators of busy talk groups, and how to activate the light. Turn on the radio by rotating the on-off volume control knob clockwise. The bicolor LED blinks green and then red several times. The radio then begins a power-up self-test. The LCD display shows self-test, then the home menu. To turn the radio off, rotate the on-off volume control knob counterclockwise until you hear a click. The volume is also controlled by the on-off volume knob. As you turn the knob clockwise, the volume increases. You will notice with 800 MHz radios, the volume increases more slowly than with VHF radios. This makes low volume settings more accurate. At the full volume setting, the 800 MHz radio is as loud as other radios you've had experience with in the past. In the upper left-hand corner of the LCD display, you will see the antenna icon. The number of bars displayed to the right of the antenna icon is a relative indicator of how well your radio is hearing the system. A talk group is another name for a channel. Talk groups are organized into groups called zones. Zones are labeled with letters. The name of the currently selected zone appears on the LCD display to the left of the talk group name. To select a different zone, press the zone button on the front of the radio. The zone name flashes. Repeatedly press the left or right side of the navigation buttons to change zones. The zone name changes with each press of the button. Momentarily press the Home key after you have selected the desired zone. The LCD display returns to the main menu. To select a talk group, you should rotate the talk group selection knob until the name of the desired talk group appears on the display. Keep in mind that if the zone or talk group selection are unprogrammed, Unprogrammed appears on the display and the radio emits a warning tone. It is important to hold the radio microphone 2 to 3 inches from your mouth when preparing to transmit. Do not shout into the microphone. Always speak in a normal voice. The microphone is equipped with noise canceling capability. To transmit, press the push-to-talk switch and wait for the talk permit tone. Begin speaking only after you hear the tone. Anything you say before hearing the tone will not be transmitted. When finished speaking, release the push-to-talk switch. The bicolored LED light located on the top of the radio will continuously light red while the radio is transmitting. Your radio is programmed with a 60-second timeout timer. You may transmit for 60 seconds. 4 seconds before the time limit, you will hear a warning tone. When you reach the time limit, if you continue to press the press-to-talk switch, you will hear a continuous low-pitched warning tone. and the bicolored LED will go out. This indicates that your transmission has been cut off. You should release the Press to Talk switch and then press it again to continue speaking after you hear the Talk Permit tone. If the talk group is busy when you depress the Push to Talk switch, you will hear a warning tone when you press the Push to Talk switch. If you hear the warning tone, release the Push to Talk switch and attempt to retransmit in a little while. If the talk group was busy and you heard the warning tone, but then immediately hear the Talk Permit tone, press the Push to Talk switch and begin talking. If you do this within a few seconds of hearing the Talk Permit tones, you will not hear another set of Talk Permit tones after you press the Push to Talk switch the second time, and you will be able to talk on the radio. The radio system does not allow one radio to cover or walk on another radio user. To illuminate the LCD display, press any button on the side or front of the radio except the Push to Talk switch. In this next segment, we will discuss some useful features of the radio. These are navigating menus, Push to Talk ID, return to the home talk group, dispatch override, emergency interrupt, and mute the keypad tones. Navigating menus. Your radio is programmed to offer more menu choices than can appear on the LCD display at one time. To advance through the menu choices, repeatedly press the left or right navigation button until your desired feature appears. You will see the following menu screens: Zone, Prog, View, BAT, and Mute. The Push to Talk ID feature allows your radio ID to automatically be transmitted every time you press the Push to Talk switch. Your radio ID is then displayed on the dispatch or communication center's screen with each transmission. This feature allows the communication center staff to know who is attempting to communicate with them. The Return to the Home Talk Group feature quickly allows the radio to be returned to the home talk group without turning the talk group knob. The home talk group is the one that is programmed into position number 1 in Zone A of the radio programming. This feature can be activated by pushing and holding the home button on the front of the radio. The radio will beep and switch to the home talk group. To regain control of the talk group selection, simply turn the talk group knob to select the talk group you wish to use. A dispatcher can override transmissions from mobile or portable radios. This may be desirable in the event of a stuck push-to-talk switch, or if a priority message must be sent while another person is sending a routine message. When the dispatcher transmits while another person is speaking, that person will not be aware that he or she has been cut off. The dispatcher needs to notify that person of what has happened after that person concludes his or her transmission. Emergency interrupt. If a person using a mobile or portable radio must send an emergency message while a dispatcher is speaking, that person can transmit the emergency message and the dispatcher will hear the message even though the dispatcher is still speaking. To activate this feature, press the push-to-talk switch and begin speaking as usual. No special key functions are required. When a person makes an emergency transmission while a dispatcher is speaking, only the dispatcher hears the emergency transmission. Other mobile and portable radio users continue to hear the dispatcher as they normally would. Transmissions from mobile or portable radios cannot override a dispatcher. Use the emergency interrupt feature only when you must transmit an emergency message. To mute the keypad tones, press the left or right navigation button until the display shows Mute. Press the Menu Select button directly under Mute. When you do this, the display will change to show the current mute state, tones on or tones off. Press the Menu Select button directly under On or Off to turn on or turn off the tones.